Either way, I think we should all agree that if more and more percentage-wise Americans are leaving America, that's not a sign of success. Because we were raised, like you and me, that America at the time was the best, and everyone wanted to come to America. And if it starts going the opposite, a big question mark should be and say, what's going on? Why would a guy like me with my resume leave America and never want any problems with America? And it just shows how much this system and corruption is going, that even when I left America, they still don't like it. Even when I quit the FBI, I don't like it. There's something, it's like leaving corporation and we'll do it. We don't have time, but I'll go into it. But there's a reason why when Americans leave, the American government, the corporations have taught the American people to have hatred against those people. It's kind of weird, right? Hey, dude, I'm leaving America. Fucking traitor. Where are you going? I'm going to Canada. Fuck you. You ever get that? Why? Why is that? Because the American people have been indoctrinated. Why? Because the American government wants to teach the American people that really, unless you leave the country, which means you're not paying any tax, you're not going to support it, there's really little you can do. So the American government wants to make you believe that if you don't like America, vote. And Americans have been indoctrinated to think, yeah, man, I'm not going to do anything violent. I'm not going to do anything illegal. And I'm not going to leave the country. They don't want you to leave. I'm going to vote. And every time I vote, I get option A or option B, which really all goes to the same option. So it's always push vote. But if someone just say, you know something, I just want to leave America, it's looked upon very negatively. Again, when I left America, I was never like, fuck you, I'm never. I was very thankful and happy. I was born and raised in America. It's just the value system is just changing. What I was taught at West Point, duty, honor, country, has been replaced by a globalist corporation. It's a why are we doing it? Money. It's just, we are a globalist corporation. And so my value system was not aligned and I left. I've never said anything negative about America. No, I just left. But there's negativity when you see, I get it on X many times. Fucking traitor, left America. Where did they get that from? Because you got to look at them like children. The parents are the government and the corporations. Why is that? Because I'm telling you, what the government and the corporations want you to believe is voting is the way to change the system, even though nothing really changes. Leaving is actually what really will change your life. And they don't want that. They don't want American citizens to understand that sense of powerhood that says, you know, it's like a corporation, right? You can do whatever you want, just shut the fuck up and do your job. But if you quit, it is a form of power. And then if more people quit, think about a strike. They don't want that. It is. Corporations don't like it when people quit because it's one of their few things that they have, that they're losing power. We all know it. How many times, like in a movie, you're like, you know something? Fuck you, I quit. There's a sense of power into that. And most people are like, fuck, man, I wish I could quit. There's power into that. So the American government, they don't want to make you know that there is a sense of power. When you leave the country, it's your say saying, I quit. I'm not going to take this shit. Same thing, I quit the FBI. It's in my nature. Sooner or later, we're all going to die. You make money. You don't make money, you get your girl, you don't get your girl, we're all going to die. A lot of people in the West seem to forget that. They really seem to forget that. That was another reason why I left the FBI. Most people, we're talking 90% in the FBI, it is a pension and a paycheck. They're not doing it for duty, honor, country. But if you realize no matter what you do, success or failure, we are all going to die. I'm not going to be remembered, and probably neither are you. And so what does that do? It takes your fear level and it decreases it. Because organizations, like it or not, they do want to have an element of fear on their citizens. If I don't pay my bills, if I don't do this, I'll go to jail. I don't have enough food, I'll starve. That sense of fear is a sense of control. They want it. But every now and then a person says, I don't give a fuck. There's been many times in my life, I thought my life was going to be over. And it didn't. I could say I got lucky. But sooner or later, my luck is going to run out. Even old age, my luck will run out. There's many times I've had many regrets in my life. But the one thing I've never had any regret, and I'm 50 years old, never, is I've never not done something in my life based upon fear. There are things I didn't do in my life because I'm like, that is retarded or that's way too risky or what. But if it's only because of fear, no. So by all means, there are going to be decisions in your life where you're going to say yes and no, and I think, and use an educated mind. But you don't want to be, at least from a leadership level, and when you're older in life, to say, dad or grandpa, or maybe you don't have kids, and you say, fuck it, I did my life and I don't have any kids. But you don't want to be that person who says, why didn't you do that? And it's, I was scared. You don't want that to be that single variable. It could be something else. I didn't do that because I didn't want to risk that person or that, or I thought it was a retarded plan or so. Who knows? But you don't want to be, I didn't do that, especially something that you always wanted to do, but you're afraid. And that's also, like I said about the government, they get you into that pension plan. I've seen it. Same thing with some yo-yo CIA guy who's just like, man, 7 more years. I remember that, 7 more years to retirement. And I thought to myself, I don't want to be that fucking pussy. Because when I left the FBI, it wasn't just 3 years in the FBI. My Army time counted. My 4 years at West Point counted. So 20 years in the FBI, that's a 30-year pension. It's fine. One day I will die along with you. None of this is going to be remembered. But try to reach on to something that's beyond the humankind. It's something that you almost feel that it's past the human nature, that's in that spiritual, religious, metaphysical realm. And you'll know that realm is when you push yourself to the point where you're like, this is pretty fucking scary, I have to admit. And I'm not doing this because I'm on drugs, I'm drinking alcohol, or I just want this thrill. That's not, because you would prefer it not to be risky. There's just something you want to do. But then you realize, this is fucking dangerous. This is really dangerous. And then you realize about leadership, it's not the absence of fear. We all know that. It is the presence of fear, but it's your ability using courage to overcome that. And I say that again, it doesn't matter what I'm working with, but the biggest obstacle that I've seen in human existence is fear. It's without a doubt, it is the most controlling factor. And there's no doubt leaving America was one of the issues, especially saying, hey, I'm picking up my shit. And I put 5 suitcases and I just put on the airplane and I flew to China. And it was a wacky adventure that more videos I'll explain. So I keep saying that. And these fears, not necessarily about leaving America, they could be in so many different tribulations and trials in your life. But what I've seen in the government of America is I have seen a weak man, particularly a weak white man, who's changed from our forefathers. Our forefathers were the ones who left the comfort of Europe. They moved to America, and it was dangerous. They did not immigrate to America. They were settlers. They had a shovel in one hand because they better earn their way. They had a rifle in another, and they probably had the Bible too, because they knew that one of the best ways to overcome fear is that sense of God. Whether you get that from religion, you get that from philosophy, or you get that from spirituality, something. But fear will come, and belief in God is your biggest strength. And what have we accomplished in America? Amazing things. And I truly believe, make America great again. America was a great country because we had great men. And I think the problem is, I've said this many times, that thing, weak men, strong countries, weak men. And I think we are the products of exemplary men. And we've gotten lazy, we've gotten spoiled, we've gotten selfish, and we've allowed the corporations to take us over. And that's what we live in. We live in the corporation, the globalist corporation called America. And that's the number one reason why I left America. For what I learned at West Point, which is the founding of America. The United States Military Academy, West Point, goes all the way back to George Washington, where he remarked on it. This is America. If we lose West Point, we will lose the continent, George Washington. And those men that founded West Point, the leaders, I believe they would look at the later generations of us, and I think they would be sad. They truly would be sad. And as we're going off the war in Iran, we're like, no, we're reliving that. No, we're not. We've turned into bullies. Those men, our forefathers, weren't bullies. We're turning into bullies now. And we're working for the corporations. We know it. So I can go on and on. We'll save for another video. But I go back to here. Just like leaving your state, your city, or your country, it is going to take courage. And many people will not do it because they're very intimidated. And I say again from leadership, whatever decision matrix you use of should I or shouldn't I? Should I be with her? Should I not? Should I take the job? Not. Should I leave the country? Not. This or that. Make sure that you will never have a variable that if someone says, why didn't you do this? Or even you did do something, whatever. And the reason is because of fear. That is the most horrible explanation later in life. You will regret it unbelievable. There are so many things I regret in my life, but the one thing I will never have any regrets. My level of risk was beyond the normal man. And I've never really had a decision where I said, well, I'm not going to do it because I'm scared or stuff like that. Hopefully that adds some value. And again, like I said, give it time, but you're going to see the trend. More and more Americans are leaving. And if you love America, stay. But don't be like a lot of Americans say, I'm not leaving because, and they don't want to admit it, they're scared. They're scared. Until then, David Baumblatt from Terrabin Leadership. I appreciate your support. Lead to victory.